Disney World's Toontown was my first job out of high school. In the beginning, everything was great. For those of you who don't remember, Toontown was where Mickey and Minnie lived in the park and had everything you would imagine would be in a real neighborhood that a cartoon would live in. There were houses, kitchens, and bathrooms. Kids could even go in and microwave stuff on a little cartoon microwave. Donald Duck had a little houseboat you could go inside. Goofy had his roller coaster. There was a lot of cool stuff. And although it was for kids, I actually really liked it. I mean, where else in the world would you go and step in a real cartoon village? That was all until I started working the night shift there. What in the daytime looked cute and silly quickly became very creepy after the sun went down and the guests left the park. I worked in custodial, so I was one of the last people to go through the parks at night, and unfortunately I usually had to go in alone. So one night I was doing my rounds and emptying the trash cans. I walked straight through Toontown to try and get to Tomorrowland and back to the front of the park. I was finished the 10-hour day and was definitely ready to go out, so I was walking pretty fast. Normally, all of the little houses were dark and the sound effects would be turned off. Not tonight though. I went back there and all the lights and effects were still going strong throughout the area. I was dumbfounded. This was a serious departure from protocol. So, I had to tell someone about it, and people were going to get in serious trouble. I continued walking and pulled out my radio. As soon as I did, everything shut off. I then heard shuffling in the distance and thought I saw a tail go into some bushes over the near train station. I figured it was probably just some raccoon or something. The area back there was completely surrounded by national forests and animals turn up all the time, so I completely forgot about it and went about the rest of the night. During my shift, the next morning though, I heard some very disturbing news about the area. A rat was found gutted and smeared all over Minnie's house floor. The official story was that it was killed by a possum, or two, but the amount of carnage involved seemed suspicious to me. Anyways, it was busy as usual of course. The amount of situations at the park that could happen before there is any change in operation is truly astounding. That was until later in the evening. I saw a batch of policemen and security officers crowded around the main street, strategizing something. For that amount of them to all be gathered around one place meant something definitely must have happened. I found one of my leaders standing over a sidewalk, staring over at the group. I asked her what had happened. She said she wasn't sure, but she heard something about a baby going missing. I had never heard about anything like that happening in these parks, so that really freaked me out. By the time I did my sweep later that night, it was about 2 in the morning. I did all of my normal tasks, but I was certainly dreading getting to Toontown. I was still kind of shook up by the events from the night before, even though I knew they were honestly pretty much normal. So by the time I got to the area, I was relieved to see that the lights and sound effects were not on. I approached an empty trash can in front of Minnie's house and noticed through the window that the cartoon refrigerator was still open. I figured that one of the crazy interns must have forgotten to shut the door when they closed the park for the night. So I walked inside the house and went to the kitchen to close it. But when I tried, it didn't close all the way. Fear suddenly surged through my veins. I automatically knew something was wrong. I slowly opened the refrigerator door and witnessed to my horror a baby inside, lifeless and cold. In a panic, I radioed my supervisor and told him what happened. He told me to get outside the house immediately and that the police were on their way. Then a number of boxes and items got knocked down in one of the rooms behind me and somebody ran out of the door. Too terrified to move, I stood there and watched as a man-like thing with a tail skidded past the window. I immediately went outside, desperate to see what it was. It was gone. The police arrived soon after. I told them everything. When no one was paying attention, I saw something on the kid's coaster. It looked like a silhouette of Mickey Mouse. I am now writing this 3 weeks after the incident. I was the obvious suspect for killing that baby. My family stopped talking to me. Not even my therapist believes me. There's a 10-year gap between me and my sister Alice. My mom left my dad when I was just a baby, and I grew up with my mom and aunt. We didn't have much, but the house was filled with laughter and love, and I had a good childhood. All that changed when I was 9. My mom found Stefan. He wasn't pretty, he wasn't kind, and he wasn't smart. a college dropout who still quoted philosophers. Me and my mom didn't know 20 years after he dropped out. He was a drunk too, but he had a job as a teacher. And money started being less tight when he moved in with us and pushed my aunt out. My aunt saw right through him, but she wasn't my mom, nor was she my mom's mom, so she couldn't do much. That mean bastard didn't bring anything good with him, except Alice. She's nothing like him. While my early childhood was alright, Alice wasn't. Stefan had a son, a small boy named Ethan, who was 3 years younger than me. He looked like he was at least 5 years younger than me though, and it only got worse as we both grew older. I don't blame Ethan, but he took after his father. Pinched Alice when she was a baby, bullied her when she got older, and wasn't around as much. Stefan said it was just boys being boys, and my mom was blindly in love with Stefan. So while she acted like she was Stefan and Ethan's maid, she forgot about Alice and me. I did alright, spent a lot of time with my aunt, but Alice was a scrawny little kid, lonely and alone most of the time. When she was 3 or 4, we had been out in the local woods to do some hunting. Stefan loved hiking, so of course we had to hike as a family. It was in the clearing in those woods that Alice found Robert, or at least that's what she said. She said Robert was an adult, which didn't mean much, since she also thought I was an adult at the time. He was tall, white, and had long dark hair. Always wore a necklace with a big tooth, and most importantly, he always wanted to play when Alice asked. He lived with us, she said, slept in her bed most of the time. I think he gave her a much needed break from Ethan's bullying and my mom's negligence. My aunt thought it was a cute thing. Kids have imaginary friends all the time. My mom and I thought it was creepy. Ethan was scared shitless, especially when Alice told him that Robert sleeps in his room, but doesn't like him. Robert didn't stay with Ethan for long. Ethan wasn't Robert's friend. He was Alice's. They played a lot. I can't really remember the games, but while a lot of other kids spent most of their time with their actual friends, Alice spent most of her time with Robert. It went on until she was 6 or 7. While I got less scared, my mom's fear of Robert just grew. She even drove out to the woods to make Alice leave Robert, where she found him. We recently had a family lunch. My aunt, my sister, my mom and me. My mom broke up with Stefan years back, and Alice is 17 now. We talked about Robert, and Alice laughed and said she didn't leave him back in the woods when Mom told her so. My mom asked if he was actually a ghost, and my aunt and sister laughed. No, Mom, chill out, Alice said. There's no ghost, it was just an imaginary friend. Alice and my aunt laughed some more. My mom said, but it's just weird, you could describe him so well. My sister and aunt continued to poke fun at my mom. She's always been quite a believer in supernaturals. I would have laughed too, but I didn't. I used to be like them, until I found some old records. I'm a history major at the local community college, so I know my way around the town's archives. I was looking for something in the old newspapers about some farmer's strike for an assignment when I found it. It was an article about a young man that had been missing, but turned up dead in the woods. Yes, you guessed it. Those exact same woods Stefan took us out hiking in. His name was Robert. He was 28 and in the black and white photo from 1965. You could see Robert was white, had long dark hair and a friendly smile. He also wore a necklace which looked like a leather string with a shark teeth as a pendant. Well, it was creepy as fuck, so I continued to look into it. His killer was never found. But the worst part is that Robert wasn't as friendly as he seemed so in the photo. He had tried to rape a 6-year-old little girl, and when that didn't work out, he tried to strangle her. The girl survived, and Robert spent some time in jail for it. He went missing a few days after his release. I'm pretty freaked out about this, because I'm like 99% sure that this is in fact the same Robert that my sister had as an imaginary friend as a child. I haven't told my family about this, and honestly, I don't think I ever will. There's no need to ruin the few good childhood memories Alice has.